This is HBR News number 520. Oh no, the consequences of my own actions, where we discuss the news of the week and give it the Badger treatment. Hello everybody and welcome back to Honey Badger Radio. I hope you guys are doing well this week and that you're laughing at all of this absurdity so that you are not consumed by it. I am your host, Brian. I'm joined by my co-host, Hannah Wallen. Dr. Randermacam appears to be MIA right now, which is why we started a little bit late, because I thought I would give him a little bit of time to show up. It's possible that he's not going to be here because I know that after the meetup, he stayed in Calgary for a little while longer and then went to Kelvington with Allison and Jonathan to the Badger Cave. And I guess he was staying there for a little while, and then he has to return to the UK. So he's been doing a lot of flying around, and I don't know if he's like in transit or he's just out there in the flat wilderness, not like basically hooked into some project with Allison. So I will, my door is open. He knows how to get in here. If he shows up, I will put a mouth to his cartoon, but for now you'd have to look at the panda not saying anything, but that doesn't mean that Mike isn't here with us spiritually. So anyway, with that out of the way, I have Hannah. That's plenty. It's fine. And we have a great show lined up for you guys today. So please be sure to continue the conversations in the chat, the live chat, which I will be looking at, as well as the comment section. On this week's HBR News, we're going to be talking about, well, let me see. What do we got? We have a lot going on here. For some reason, I didn't change the description, but we're going to be talking about the fallout or some of the downstream, events and happenings that have occurred since the Charlie Kirk assassination. That would be the social, the cultural, the political, and more. So stick around. It's going to be a good time. And be sure to join us afterwards for the patron-only show. So I came across something interesting that I thought would be good to share. So you know that Antifa is one of the central subjects of the topics because they've been coming up this week in light of recent events, because there's a lot of speculation around that. And as such, some people who have been doing a lot of hard work with regards to journalism surrounding Antifa, guys like Andy No, for example, have been doing the rounds and getting onto multiple news platforms and discussing things. And I overheard something really weird. Weird and interesting, and I thought it might be fun to do in the patron show. Apparently, there are anti-fascists that make games, and we're going to look at some of the anti-fascist games that have been created. And one of them is a video game. There's a board game that's an anti-fascist. I think it came out of France, and we're going to look at that because there are some articles written about it, and I'm kind of curious about how it works as a board game, which is funny because Hannah's working on a board game right now, but there are also video games. There is a developer called Wobbly Dev, and they have a bunch of socialist commie games. This one, Syndical, these are not jokes. This is like real shit that this guy made, okay? Syndical Crossing, okay, which is about anarcho-syndicalism. Antifa, the game, which basically is inspired by Mario Brothers. And The Conquest of Bread, an anarchist fun game. I'm sure it's a blast. And the union makes us strong. So yeah, I think you guys got like a sense of what we're going to be looking at. We're going to be going into the patron show to look at these things, because I think it could be educational, I guess. So if you guys want to join us for this romp through what I'm certain are extremely entertaining and fun games based on communism and Antifa, then you'll have to become a Badger yourself by going to feedthebadger.com /subscribe. $5 a month will get you into our Discord server where you'll be able to hang out with us and join the community. And yeah, it should be like, and there's lots of stuff going on there, works in progress. Allison has writers groups, and there are game nights, and there are movie nights, and all kinds of other fun things there. And yeah, you should probably join us, and you'll be able to watch all the additional content and even participate in the discussions yourself. And if you don't want to wake up one morning to find that we've been yeeted from the internet, then go to badgerfeed.com or honeybadgerradio.com. That is where all of our content lives in archive form. Okay, with all that out of the way, let us get into the story. So I have a breaking news story I have to share right off the bat. This wasn't something I had a write up for, but I thought it was worth sharing. So, the Google has formally admitted the Biden administration pressured them to censor YouTubers, and they're going to reinstate all banned accounts, or at least banned accounts. And this came from Representative Jim Jordan on X, who wrote, breaking due to oversight efforts, Google commits to offer all creators previously kicked off YouTube due to political speech violations to return to the platform. I'll just read a summary that I sort of hurriedly put together. The Google, through its parent company Alphabet, committed to offering reinstatement to all YouTube creators whose channels were permanently banned for repeated violations of now debunked policies on COVID-19 misinformation and election integrity, content often tied to political speech. This move, detailed in a letter from Alphabet counsel Daniel Donovan to House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan, follows years of Republican-led investigations into big tech's alleged collusion with the Biden administration to suppress dissenting voices. Google explicitly admitted that senior White House officials exerted repeated and sustained pressure to remove user-generated content that did not violate platform rules, describing such censorship as unacceptable and wrong, and vowing to abandon reliance on third-party fact-checkers while prioritizing free expression. The decision could benefit high-profile conservative figures like Dan Bongino, Steve Bannon, Sebastian Gorka, Computing Forever, Stefan Molyneux, Alex Jones. The list goes on. There, you can probably think of a number of people that you used to watch that were banned. Lauren Chen, people like that. Whose ban stemmed from pandemic or election-related commentary, signaling a broader shift amid the incoming Trump administration's focus on combating federal censorship. The announcement, hailed by Jordan as a victory for oversight, aligns with President Trump's Executive Order 14149, which mandates federal agencies to end and rectify past unconstitutional speech suppression. Google emphasized that its policies on these topics were rolled back by 2023 through 2024, and reinstatement will be available to affected creators without retroactive content restoration, aiming to restore civic discourse while maintaining other community guidelines. Critics, including civil liberties advocates, have mixed reactions, praising the free speech pivot but questioning the timing post-Biden and potential for selective enforcement, while other outlets like Fox News and Breitbart frame it as a capitulation to accountability efforts. So, this, I don't know if this is going to change people who have been, demonetized, or there are other ways that their visibility has been limited, like Dr. Ranmerkam. I was kind of hoping that Mike would be here because his channel was definitely on the rise for a while there. It was going to be really big, and then he started getting hit with crazy, fishy, suspicious things, like losing subs whenever he uploaded a video. But this is still a victory, and I do think it's good news. So I would say, that was basically the breaking thing I wanted to point out. So I don't know, Hannah, if you wanted to say anything about that.
I would call this a victory, but it's a minor victory because there are things that YouTube has not admitted to that we know are true. We know that the same pressure that other businesses in the U.S. and other social media in the U.S. was applied to YouTube, the same as every other social media, to censor all kinds of content, not just election content and content about COVID, but also content about gender issues. And so all of our channels, every one of us that is a men's rights activist that discusses men's issues, all of our channels have been hit with something. Like my channel was entirely demonetized for the egregious act of pointing out that men have as much right to bodily autonomy and to choose whether to consent or decline sexual content or contact as women. That was just beyond the pale, apparently, for YouTube. Reddit didn't like it either. Like the idea that men can tell women no for sex was very upsetting. And the idea that men have a right, if you're telling them yes, for there to be clear communication that you mean it and that you're not going to come back later and say I was under duress, and that time I consented, you were actually raping me. Like, those things were such terrible statements, according to YouTube and Reddit, that changes had to be made. Reddit actually changed their platform in response to a combination of that and Shuanhead's video, where she went down the men's rights movement's list of statistics on domestic violence. And like a lot of us, she cited original sources, not the people she heard it from, which that's fine. But the big thing is they didn't like the fact that she drew attention to the plight of abused men. And they didn't like the fact that I drew attention to the plight of falsely accused men, and men who don't receive equal treatment from their partner during a sex act in terms of communication and consideration. Right? YouTube was the same way, and they haven't admitted to that. They haven't admitted that the same powers that pressured Reddit to censor us, and in particular people who were Gamergate supporters. No, Mr. 303 Shoe did not get the socialist protection on that. Reddit banned political videos from their r/videos subreddit, which was their biggest video posting subreddit, created a separate r/political videos that had a much smaller following to prevent any video like that or any video like mine from ever making the front page again. And like I would say probably 80% of it was to get rid of the video that Shoe made, and the other 20% was my video, because her videos routinely get more views than my video got. Totally. Like, that's
Right.
So she's a bigger YouTuber than me. That's my assumption, is that it was a bigger deal. Her video was a bigger deal to them. And this is not a new thing. This is a long-standing thing with Reddit. Feminists have been trying to get rid of men's issues discussion that is not feminist controlled on that platform since 2009, 2010, somewhere in there. There was a discussion that Mr. 303, her channel wasn't shadow banned on YouTube, but she got no socialist protection on Reddit. Like, that's the thing. My channel wasn't shadow
Well,
banned
she's
either.
a Nazi too, you know.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
my channel wasn't shadow banned either. They just totally demonetized it. I can't anything I post isn't monetized. So like, that wasn't why I stopped posting to my channel. I just couldn't keep up with that and the stuff I was doing for HBR at the
Right.
same time, and the stuff I was doing for HBR is more important. But in any case, yeah, this YouTube has had the same pressures. YouTube has had the same reactions, and YouTube has done the same things that basically came out in the Twitter files that Twitter had been doing, and they've been doing them in response to the same financial pressures, and they've been doing them in response to the same political views of their leadership. So, as much as I like, yeah, this is a victory, it's not enough. More needs to
No.
happen. More protections need to be put in place. If and not protections where the platforms are told what they can and can't allow on their platforms, but protections where government entities and powerful financial entities have to be told, you can't use your power to censor these platforms beyond what's legal to post and what's illegal to post. Like, you can't give them some sort of social credit score and say you can't get loans and you can't get funding if you post this kind of content or that kind of content. Aside from the difference between X-rated and G-rated stuff, like, there really shouldn't be any differentiation, whether it's political or not, whether it's medical or not, and so on. And
Yeah.
that should be up to the, especially as long as the platforms are not liable for, if I give medical advice and I say it's rock solid and somebody follows it and they get sick. Like YouTube's not liable for that. Twitter, X, they're not liable for that. Facebook's not liable for that. I would be. And
Mm-hmm.
as long as that's the case, there shouldn't be these kind of limitations placed on the platforms where the platforms are told you have to censor people who are doing this. If they still do it, then they'll fail on their own. But yeah, this is a small victory, um, and I want to see more.
Yeah, for sure. Same. But we just got this announcement. We'll see what happens. I would say, Google should follow its own advice and, not be evil, but they haven't had that as their tagline for a long time. So I'm not holding my breath. But let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. Again, who would you like to see restored to YouTube? Or should everyone just go to Rumble and then we're just like, fine? I mean, that's another option, right? Anyway, let me know what you guys think about this one in the comments. Now
Well,
we're going to get into
they
the.
can't do amnesty. They can't do
Oh, Mike's here.
amnesty
Mm-hmm.
like X did, because there was too much. YouTube had a major cheese pizza problem.
Cheese pizza problem?
Yeah, YouTube had a major problem with illicit content of underage kids
Oh,
that
yeah,
was
yeah.
specifically targeted to attract a certain type of people. And I don't want to see that come back.
For sure, for sure. Oh, Mike, you're back. How long
Hello.
have you been here?
Yeah,
I didn't notice you until
yeah.
now.
I literally just got in. Sorry, I got my fucking time zones mixed up.
Oh, that's fine. Got
Where
in
are we?
from. Are you in the UK right now?
No, I'm still in the Badger Cave.
Ah, I see.
Oh,
I
that's
see.
why.
Oh yeah, we
Yeah.
just
It's hard
started.
when you're not
Yeah,
in your own time zone to
yeah.
keep track of what time it is in any time zone
Okay,
It's
so
fine.
outside the one you're in.
what
So,
story
so
what stories have you done?
I have. This is the first one. It's not even really the first one because this is a breaking story that just came out today. Where Google was basically, they have admitted that the Biden administration pressured them to censor YouTubers, and they're going to reinstate like banned YouTube accounts. And we were just talking about that.
Okay.
That was, yeah. So I don't know if you've seen that, if you know about that, or whatever.
I did not. So and I have nothing to say about it, which is good. We can move on swiftly.
Are we
Okay.
are we holding our breath to see if they'll
Yeah.
unshadow ban?
Well, yeah, unshadow
Okay.
banning or whatever is a different thing, but maybe, I don't know, maybe if they're adamant enough or we keep the pressure up on the current administration, maybe they will look into that. So, all right,
Silly
but anyway.
badgers. There's no such thing as shadow banning. There's no such thing as bots. There's no such thing as algorithms. The only thing that's to blame is how irrelevant we are. I have that on good authority. I'll have you know.
Yes, exactly. All right,
Yeah.
let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. Now we're going to get into the stories. All right. The official first story. So, before we get into all of the sort of like highly charged stuff, we got to do at least one on women behaving badly. So, this is Allie Bardfield. She is a 34-year-old former substitute teacher at Hope Academy in Decatur, Illinois, who pleaded guilty to predatory criminal sexual assault involving an 11-year-old student she taught. The abuse occurred during multiple play dates, quote unquote, at Bardfield's home in 2023 and twice in March of 2024 when the boy and Bardfield engaged in sexual encounters. The boy's mother noticed behavioral changes after the second 2024 visit, and upon checking his phone found inappropriate social media messages and up to $700 sent via Cash App from Bardfield, the woman. This led her to report the matter to Mount Zion Police in April of 2024. During police interviews, Bardfield admitted to the sexual intercourse, claiming the child initiated advances. She reached a partial plea deal with prosecutors for the single count of assault. Bardfield is scheduled for sentencing on September 25th, 2025. The child's parents have also filed a lawsuit related to the incidents. So,
So before anybody says anything about the plea deal, that's a routine thing that happens with both sexes. But I want you to understand, and I expect comments from both feminists and MRAs on this. Sonia Starr, in I want to say 2009, her research found that in the same type of circumstances, so say if you just flipped her to male, like there was a gender switch and you could just flip it and she was male, and everything else stayed the same, the plea deal that he would be offered would not be as favorable to him as the plea deal that she was offered was likely to her. That is confirmed, like documented by her
yeah.
research. And there was a second, I want to say her name was Dorner, that did similar research and found the same thing. So this is definitely not going to have the same impact on her that it would have on a male teacher if he did the same thing. But all of that said, I'm glad that the parents are suing. Like, this needs to happen every single time a student is sexually assaulted. There needs to be a consequence. Schools have this routine behavior where when they find out, in particular, a female teacher, they'll prosecute male teachers, but a female teacher does something like this and they want to sweep it under the rug. They'll do it especially if the student is older, like high school. This was an elementary school student. Her claim that the student initiated, I'm going to get to that in a minute. But if the schools get sued every time this happens, then their insurance companies are going to start pressuring them to apply more consequences, to prosecute when this happens, and instead of passing the teacher along to another school. Teachers that do stuff like this, female teachers that do stuff like this, besides the fact that they're just as sick in the head as male teachers who do something like this, get passed from school to school until they get caught like this by parents, and parents prosecute. And it's a serious issue because there usually are, or often are, a trail of victims behind them. The female that did it at my school came from another school and went to another school. She did not get prosecuted, and just like went on to do it again. Right, as far as I know. But in any case, this claim, pedophiles will do this. Oh, the child initiated it. If you are a reasonable adult and a child comes to you and initiates something like that, not only should it be profoundly disturbing that a child has that knowledge and those impulses toward you, but you should be concerned that something has already happened to that child that needs to be rooted out and helped. The child needs to be helped. And the first thing you should do, the first instinct you should have, is to protect the child, alert the child's caregivers. This child came and said these things to me. That's very disturbing. Or alert at least your supervisor so an investigator can come in and determine who did what, if anything happened, or if the child saw something on TV or heard something from another kid or whatever, so that the child can be protected and helped past this this dysfunction that is happening, and allowed to progress in his or her development normally and in a healthy manner, as opposed to, oh gosh, this child is vulnerable, here comes molestation time. Like, that is the absolute most predatory thing you can do. And so anybody that comes along to defend this woman, well, she, this is probably her first offense, and she was groomed by the child or some stupid bullshit like that. No, only an absolute disgusting predator would respond to a child engaging in this type of adult behavior with anything other than concern and being disturbed and seeking assistance from somebody higher up in helping and protecting a child. There's something profoundly wrong with someone who responds by taking advantage of the child's vulnerability. And whatever they have done, it isn't going to be enough. Whatever the legal system has done with her isn't going to fix the problem.
Mm-hmm.
More likely than not, she's going to get a slap on the wrist, and she might do some lip service of going through a perpetrator program where they will treat her like a woman instead of a pervert. Right? And I don't have any faith that this woman is going to come out of this unlikely to reoffend when she gets back out into the public. So that lawsuit is very important. And like I said, I will repeat this every time something like this happens. The family needs to just sue the shit out of everybody that let it happen.
All right. Mike, do you have anything to say about this story?
Yeah, I think I've done this rant like a dozen times already, but this shit keeps happening. So let's go around again. Why not? This time we're talking about an 11-year-old boy. So I have to ask, how young is too young? And I'm asking all the psycho chuckle fucks out there who continue to insist that incidents like this can be laughed off because the boy enjoyed it. I realize most of the people I'm talking to aren't listening to this show because you're not in our audience, but you are just about everywhere else. It's one thing that seems to unite the right and the left. By and large, they're both saturated with these paedophile apologists who think it's funny when adult women rape underage boys.
Mike?
Okay, I was just about to type a message in. Did I just lose you guys? Because I couldn't hear anything.
I'm here. Is Mike still here? Did he drop?
I think he did.
Hello, hello.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. What happened? Okay.
Okay, what was I up to? Where did I get?
You were talking about chuckle fucks.
Yes. One thing that seems to be common in the right and the left is, by and large, they're both saturated with paedophile apologists who think it's funny when adult women rape underage boys because boys always enjoy it. So what if I gave heroin to a 14-year-old boy? He enjoyed it. He loved it. It was the happiest day of his life. He was bragging to his friends about how fun it is taking heroin. What's the problem? Okay, so where is he now? How's his life going a few years down the line? I don't know. Why does that matter? I'll tell you. He's on the streets, selling ass for heroin. He wants nothing less than to wear a little dress. So how is that my fault? All I did was give him what he wanted. Newsflash, ladies and gentlemen, you're not supposed to give underage people the darkest excesses of what they want. Not drugs and not sex. Not boys and not girls. Do you think teenage girls don't enjoy sex? Especially with attractive adult men? Absolutely they do, and absolutely they will brag about it to their friends, but that doesn't make it okay. Why not? I don't even need to ask, do I? It doesn't matter how much she enjoys heroin. If it was given to her by a teacher, that teacher should be buried under the fucking jail. Everyone knows this instinctively and logically when it comes to men taking advantage of girls, but it falls out of their brain when it comes to women taking advantage of boys. Why? Because they see female sexuality as a pure and innocent gift, and they see men's sexuality as a filthy and corrosive blight. And this includes Trump, by the way. He was posed this question recently, and he gave the same sick, psychotic sort of Joe Rogan response. Well, boys enjoy it, so it's fine. It's funny. Fuck it. The leftist legacy media could have run with that, like they ran with the grab her by the pussy line. They could have ran every headline as Donald Trump is a pedophile apologist. And in this case, they would actually have a point, because that's exactly what that is. But they didn't care because they agree. They can't find anyone on their side or on the side of their mortal enemies who gives the slightest shit about female pedophiles. This is one of the reasons I can't throw my lot behind the right or the left, behind traditionalists or feminists, because they're both just slightly different flavors of misandric dickheads and psychotic pedophile apologists. We have much bigger fish to fry, much deeper levels of rot to disinfect. And so I ask again, how young is too young? In a world where a 16-year-old boy is considered a nonce for fancying a 14-year-old girl, how young can a boy be before that pedo apologist mechanism in your brain can switch itself off? Here we have an 11-year-old boy raped by a 34-year-old woman. Are you still going to stick to your story? If that 11-year-old boy enjoyed the rape, are you going to brush it off like it's nothing and laugh about it? And the sick thing is, some of you will. Some of you will still be going, well, I mean, if he got an erection, oh, fuck you dirty fucking nonce. Like you've never heard of a nervous erection. The first kind of erection boys get when they're anxious and scared. You're really going to act like that counts as consent, are you? Okay, then I ask again, how young is too young? If a 1-year-old boy gets his face shoved up the festering cancerous cunt of a paedophile rapist, is that okay? If he enjoys it, does that make it okay? And I reckon some of you are still going to say yes. Calling it now. Some of you are actually that sick because you're that fucking buried in this paradigm of women can do no wrong to men or boys. I won't even deign to present the gender swap of that sexual scenario I just outlined, because to even mention it would make me sound like a fucking psycho. Well, you people are fucking psychos. I hope you burn for your sins in this life or the next.
All right. Well, let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. I mean, the only thing I would add to that is the interesting thing is the only other time they'll talk about an incident of rape that involves this same boy is in the off chance that because he was raped by this woman, if he grows up and he does not understand consent because of this trauma, and so he goes on to violate someone else's consent at some point in the future, then all of a sudden that matters, and it won't be because of this experience with this woman. It'll be because he's a man, and so that's
Yeah.
because the vacuum of sort of like a cycle of trauma ends when a woman is a perpetrator. So there was nothing happened then because he enjoyed it. But then why didn't he learn what consent was later? Again, this is in the off chance that becomes an issue. But most people that violate other people's boundaries or consent are people who have themselves had their boundaries and consent violated in many, many cases. And it's because they don't know what consent is, because that was what it was for them. And I think that when you normalize it by saying he probably enjoyed it, that actually adds to the confusion of that. So, you're creating rapists by permitting rape, essentially. And then you're pretending like you didn't do that. But anyway, she's sick.
There's actually a whole bunch of things that happen to boys. There's research that shows that and by the way, most victims of childhood sexual abuse do not go on to become abusers.
Yeah, I said
They
in the
go
off
on to
chance.
become They go on to become poly victims, which is some of them go on to become sexual poly victims, where they get sexually abused by the next predator and the next. Some go on to become poly victims in other ways, where their boundaries are no longer solid, so they get violated in other ways. And among these things, it becomes easier to talk them into using illicit substances. And boys in particular have been found to be up to 44 times more likely to abuse illicit substances after an incident like this. And it's likely that they're doing it to try to forget or escape. And sometimes they don't even know what they're trying to forget or escape, because they are also 16 times more likely to sort of rewrite it in their head as they're growing up as having not happened, or having not been the perpetrator's fault, having been their own fault or something they chose to do. And it's something that they struggle with throughout their lives. And that's one they become up to 14 times more likely to commit suicide too.
Yeah.
So this is a very serious issue. And the part of the reason why I went off about it so much is because of those types of statistics.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. All right, so we're gonna move on to the next one. Let us know what you guys think about this one. I'm gonna read some super chows because I got some super chows that have come in. And if you guys want to send one, again, it's beatthebadger.com/just a tip. I'll be looking for super chats, super chows, and rumble rants. Okay, so I got a couple that came through yesterday that I'm gonna just read out really quick. So an anonymous person gave us $5, added no messaging to that. Thank you to whoever that is. Appreciate it. And then we got one from Maintaining Frame number 175, cosplayer molested by hand beasts, for $5. And they say, I bet the guy didn't want to press charges because he may have felt there was a likelihood of social retaliation by his female feminist friends who were involved with the smut convention. Yes, of course, he doesn't want to look like a bad ally, so he just kind of just became apologetic with it, basically, or tried to like downplay it. But I'm sure it wasn't really pleasant for him. Then Zeranx just sent us a really big super chow. This might be a long sausage, so for $5, and says, look at the following. I was looking for the article related to the first story mentioned, the one I guess that we just talked about. But because of how these things are reported, I couldn't call it rape, and the AI I was using couldn't find it. I had to say the 21-year-old woman had sex with an 11-year-old boy she was babysitting. What the hell? A 21-year-old babysitter, Megan Nicole Hayes, was accused of having sex with an 11-year-old boy she was babysitting in Cocoa, Florida. Hayes admitted to having intercourse with the child, and investigators reported that she told another person about the incident, who then notified the victim's parents. She was charged with sexual battery on a child under 12 and released on $35,000 bail, though authorities expressed concern that she might have had other victims. Her father claimed she had a low IQ and did not understand right from wrong, but police stated they believe she was aware of her actions in a separate case. A 20-year-old babysitter, Jade Hatt, admitted to sexual activity with an 11-year-old boy she was caring for in the UK in 2014. The judge in that case, Tim Mousley QC, gave her a 6-month jail sentence, suspended for 2 years, citing her immaturity and the boy's perceived maturity as reasons to deviate from standard sentencing guidelines. Hyatt was also required to register as a sex offender for 7 years and was subject to a sexual harm prevention order. The decision drew criticism for downplaying the severity of the crime and implying the victim's shared responsibility. These cases highlight the serious nature of sexual abuse involving minors, particularly when the perpetrator is in a position of trust, such as a babysitter. Child sexual abuse can have long-lasting psychological effects on victims, and such incidents often prompt public and legal scrutiny over how justice is administered. So, Zeranx is basically confirming that AI doesn't. It's a language model, so it's just modeling the way people talk about these things all the time, and it's true.
Yeah.
Like this is
If
basically
you
just
if you ask it to
confirms.
search for a story with rape in the headline, it won't find a story
Because they
that
don't word
doesn't
it that
have
way.
rape in the headline. Just the
Yeah.
same as Google search engine or any other search engine, it doesn't interpret. But the big issue there is that the people that wrote these news stories did not use the word rape to describe what this woman or
Right.
these women did to these children. And it's, again, this is a regular social attitude. This is a standard social attitude.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I pointed this out on X, but for people that are listening on platforms where they can't see our chat, that if it scrolls up in the screen, because we had a commenter that said, we all want a world that is safe for children. Everyone agrees, and the problem is
Mm-hmm.
everyone does not agree. Mike's rant pointed that out, and I've had extensive arguments on X, both with feminists who claim that it's just not the same and it's not a big deal when it happens to boys, and women who are prosecuted for it are victims, and so on. even when the boy is as young as 11 years old. And by the way, the United States has imposed child support obligation on boys as young as 11 years old
Mm-hmm.
to pay child support to their rapist, who is a pedophile and has custody of a child conceived by raping a child. That has occurred in the United States, and it's been more than once. And there have been multiple cases where women have committed rape, and it's been confirmed that it was rape and not consensual sex, and they retain custody of a child conceived by that rape, and the father, who is a rape victim, is forced to pay child support to his rapist. Right. So that's one thing. But the other thing I pointed out is that there are a lot of guys out there who have this mistaken idea that this is fun. That's obviously never happened to them, because if it had, they would know better. All right. And I pointed out some of the statistics in my comments there that I mentioned on the show. But this is this is a subject that people are very ignorant on, and very uncomfortable admitting is as serious as when it happens to little girls. Like, nobody would suggest that a rapist who molested a little girl and got her pregnant should get custody of the child, and that she should be forced to pay support or should get visitation or anything like that. But it is routinely done when a boy is the victim. And these problems, people don't like to talk about these problems, but these problems affect real existing children, and they are just as harmful as any other exploitation of a child, whether that child is a boy or a girl. And these perpetrators, like, you can't imagine how tricky and sneaky, and like this woman, when she got her picture taken, she tried very hard to keep her face neutral. You can see that she tried very hard to keep her face neutral, and you can barely tell that the smirk she's holding is there. It's
Mm-hmm.
just barely present. You'll see it, I think, on the left side of your screen. It's the right side of her face, the right side of her mouth, and the tension in the cheek muscle on the right side of her face. That's not relaxed. She knew she was going to get away with this for the most part. Like, the moment that she was caught, she probably knew there were going to be consequences. But I don't believe that she didn't understand what she did. And I will point out one more thing, you know, like, because he talked about UK cases and US cases. The United States has executed intellectually disabled men where their crimes weren't rape, there were other things. They might have included rape, but they've executed intellectually disabled men for crimes that they've committed in the past. And there have been intellectually disabled men who have been put in jail for their whole lives on allegations of sex crimes. So the idea that a woman should get a pass because she has lower maturity or some degree of intellectual disability, uh-uh. There's, and her parents coming in and saying that, her dad coming in and saying that, you let her take a babysitting job. Right? If you're now arguing that she shouldn't have been in there doing that and she wasn't mature enough, you should be prosecuted for letting her take that job.
All right. Thank you for that really big super chat, thanks. Appreciate it. And then he sent another super chat for $10 and said, regarding the first case with Megan Hayes, what I remember reading is the father was involved with Megan Hayes, and the judge in the case reduced her maturity to 15 and raised the boys to match. Ugh. The father of the boy was involved with Hayes, I mean. Okay. And then thank you for those super chats. And then I got one from a Rumble rant from the Fish Got Nukes. on Rumble, and he says Matt from church self-deleted last week. That's suicide. Uh, Pray for Matt. Depression and could not find a marriageable woman. Really good guy. It's a stupefying waste, if you ask me. Well, that is a shame. I'm sorry that happened.
Yeah, that is really awful.
Yeah, and then Meredith G gives us $5 and says HBR News 520 honey from the Badgers from my lovely vacation location. All right, thanks for joining us on your vacation. Appreciate that. I know that's like you just want to like get away from everything, right? I know I do sometimes. All right, anyway,
I'm sort of in my vacation home at the moment.
yeah,
Well,
sort of. Yeah,
I guess that's what the Badger Cave is in a way.
there's probably a lot of mosquitoes.
Home away
up
from
there.
home.
It is. It is a home away from home. The tits can't get to you there. All right, but anyway, let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. We got to move on to the next story. Yeah, like I said, this is probably gonna be a long sausage. So, okay. In a recent executive order signed on September 22nd, 2025, President Donald Trump formally designated Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization, fulfilling a long-standing promise to crack down on what he describes as a radical left-wing violence. The order characterizes Antifa as a militarist, anarchist enterprise that explicitly advocates for the overthrow of the U.S. government, law enforcement, and societal structures. This move comes amid heightened tensions following events such as the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, which the administration attributes to leftist extremism because it was. And I could prove that. There's basically plenty of receipts that demonstrate that. Antifa, however, is not a centralized group, but a decentralized movement opposing fascism, supposedly, making the designation controversial and raising questions about its enforceability under U.S. law, which traditionally applies terrorist labels to foreign entities. Steps outlined in the executive order include directing federal agencies to prioritize investigations and prosecutions related to Antifa-linked activities, potentially allowing for enhanced surveillance, asset freezes, and restrictions on associated individuals or networks. They're going to be looking at who is it that is paying these groups, and they're going to be looking at education as well, because a lot of the radicalization occurs online, obviously, in various like online places like Reddit, but also in schools. We don't know like how effective this is going to be, but there are people who are concerned about free speech. Supposedly, though critics from civil liberties organizations warn it could broadly suppress dissent and peaceful protests. Legal experts note the order's impact may be limited due to Antifa's informal structure, and it could face court challenges, but it signals a broader push to combat perceived domestic threats from anarchist groups. And I just want to add a couple things to this before you guys say your piece. One is that Andy No, who has done a lot of coverage on Antifa, he has a book called Antifa Unmasked, where he's done a lot of research into this stuff, said in a video that in Trump's first term, he said he did mention going after Antifa, but he didn't do any. It was more of a sentiment that he was expressing at that time. This time, though, there appears that between him and Mike Miller, I believe or Stephen Miller, they are actually going to be looking at where Antifa gets its money from, however way they can do that. And that's going to be where the vehicle through which they're going to be approaching this. And Andy No says that there's a lot more potential to at least like limit Antifa's reach and prevent them from acting out. But it is true that it's not really one, like centralized group. It's more like a bunch of radicalized students that are scattered all over the place, and not just the United States, because Antifa originated from Europe, and there's plenty of them over there as well. And the other thing I was going to say about this is that you know what, I can't remember what I was going to say.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm going to take issue with the claim that Antifa is not organized, right?
No. Not centralized. Not centralized.
That Antifa is not. I'm going to take issue with that claim, and here's why. You can't be organized without having some centralized structure. Right? You can't be that organized without having some sort of centralized structure. And by that organized, I'm talking about the fact that every time Black Lives Matter had a protest, Antifa showed up, and there were piles of bricks and cement ready for them to use every single time. That every time there needed to be some sort of counter attack against the United States for something that Trump did or something that happened that could be used against Trump or that could be used against conservatives or so on, that Antifa was able to bring in hundreds of people from all over the country on transportation that was expensive, buses and so on, um, chartered, by the way, not like informal. Everybody buys their own bus ticket and gets there. There is no truth to the claim that Antifa is not a centralized group but a decentralized movement, and I believe that the surveillance and investigation that takes place is going to prove that there is a higher up um, funding organization that is pretty much calling the shots by manipulating some probably very dumb people or
Yeah.
very ideologically driven people. And
Well, Stephen Miller is
it,
going to follow the
there's
money. I think that was
yeah,
what he kind of said in so many words. And I think
once they
that's,
once they
yeah.
follow the money and the communication networks, there's going to be no doubt that Antifa is an organization,
Mm-hmm. NGOs are involved for sure.
right? And so that's the first thing. Second thing is, this goes right along with everything I've said in the past about when you use an ideological drive, claims that a group of people are murderous and evil, and that they're going to create an unlivable world, when in fact they haven't killed anybody and nobody has suffered any harm as a result of their actions. You create a circumstance where a number of young men are going to feel obligated by their upbringing, by their social situations, by their belief systems, their codes of ethics, to join whatever army you are creating to fight this ideological opponent that you have made up in place of the people that actually exist. And they're going to engage in crimes and violence that is going to come back on them. They're going to get arrested. They're going to get injured when people defend themselves. They might get shot and killed when somebody defends their life or their property or their family. This is actually an exploitation of young college-age men on a grand scale as political cannon fodder. And many of them have been so indoctrinated and so manipulated, and probably many of them have been so drugged over the years by their own schools, and the common tendency in the United States to overdrug boys in particular, that their agency in this is reduced. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not eliminated. They still know right from wrong. You still know that if somebody didn't do anything to you directly and you attack them, you're in the wrong. But it does make it more likely for them to do the mental gymnastics that and Antifa and their associates do, that convince them that it's okay for them to engage in violence against nonviolent people, right? And then you also have the other side of that, where young men whose neighborhoods are being attacked and whose families are in danger, or whose family businesses might be in danger, whose friends are in danger, and so on, might feel obligated by their social upbringing and their family upbringing, their moral code, and so on, to fight back and defend against this. And they may be wounded. They may go through what Kyle Rittenhouse went through, where he had the whole legal ordeal after defending himself against 3 attackers who were using deadly force. And this is all pitting young men against young men for politics. When I said in the past that the United States is in the middle of a civil war, it just doesn't look like civil wars from history. This is what I'm talking about. Neighborhoods have been burned down, people have died, people have been held accountable, and other people have gotten away with their actions. And some people have been held accountable for things that they didn't do wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So this is overall women who are involved in this, women who are pro one side or the other, are doing nothing to cool it down, nothing to put the brakes on the violence, nothing to protect their young men from getting involved in this. And now we're having to see government action to do it. It's a sad thing for a group like this to have to be designated as a terrorist group in order for the government to put a stop to violence that these young men's sisters and mothers, girlfriends and wives, if they have them, friends, classmates, colleagues, should all be trying to rein in instead of encouraging. And the women that are involved, the women that are engaging in violence themselves, are not facing the same consequences. They're not in the same level of danger. They're not getting the same level of pushback. And they're getting bailed out when they get arrested. So it's really mostly about the men. And unfortunately, this is a situation where once again, women have left the government to do a woman's job because they're not doing it.
All right. Mike, do you want to say anything about this?
Yeah, I'm gonna reiterate a lot of those points. The two most popular defenses I hear against proscribing Antifa as a terrorist organization are: one, it's not an organization, it doesn't have leaders or centralization or conferences or whatnot. You can't possibly point to it as an entity. And two, it's literally just anti-fascism, bro. It's just a general declaration of the rejection of fascism, bro. Shouldn't everyone be anti-fascist? Aren't you anti-fascist, bro? If not, doesn't that make you pro-fascist? I'm not sure why the following question needs to be asked, given how obvious it seems, but where exactly is this fascism? Can you point to it, this fascism? Who are its leaders? Where are its conferences exactly? Well, duh, its leaders are Donald Trump and JD Vance and Elon Musk and that podcaster with the small face who just got murdered by someone who had absolutely nothing to do with us. Well, hold on, you seem to be talking about the Republican Party and its most prominent supporters. They don't call themselves fascist. Of course they don't, but they clearly are. Just because they don't call themselves fascist doesn't mean they're not. I'm not a fascist. It's exactly what a fascist would say. Okay, you've already made a mistake there. I don't know if you spotted it, but moreover, isn't Antifa a communist entity? No, it's just anti-fascist. It's in the name. Can't you read? All right. Interesting. Just out of interest, my dear average card-carrying, flag-waving, actively campaigning member of Antifa, perchance are you a communist? Why, yes, I am. I am a communist, and so is my wife. And so is my wife's boyfriend. What's wrong with that? Real communism has never been tried. There's certainly no such thing as communist terrorism, and if there was, it certainly would not manifest in the form of hired renter mobs violently attacking any smattering of people whose priorities do not align with our misandric, oikophobic, heterophobic agenda. I positively do not know what you're talking about, and I will cave in your skull with a bike lock if you don't shut the fuck up. All right. Well, just don't do any terrorism. Yeah. Can you handle that? I know it's difficult for you because that's all Antifa has ever done. You turn up at other people's peaceful protests and you terrorize them. And you get away with it because you're communists, and so are the police, at least in Europe. You've got away with it in the US for so long because no matter how heinous your terror crimes are, there's always someone to bail you out of jail, be it George Soros or Kamala Harris and their associated coffers of taxpayer money. Well, hopefully they can't do that anymore because that would officially be aiding and abetting a terrorist organization. But they'll probably find a loophole anyway. So pardon my gallbladder if I refuse to cry you a river. After, after a dozen years of hearing you fuckers chanting, men's rights advocates have been declared a hate group by the most illustrious and trustworthy Southern Poverty Law Center. So you deserve the cancellations and the blacklists and the bomb threats. Even though advocating for men's human rights is not an organization, it's literally just a fucking verb, I'm going to enjoy reminding you that your terrorist group has been declared a terrorist group by the US government, while you cope and seethe and insist that the US government is not a reliable good faith actor like the fucking SPLC is. Eat my balls on rye bread with horseradish, you bunch of dysgenic mutants. Now do BLM. I'm serious. They haven't done a terrorism since 5 years ago, but that was a pretty fucking big terrorism they did internationally with total impunity despite the lockdowns and with the unconditional blessing of the mainstream media. I, for one, do not want that to happen again. If declaring BLM a terrorist organization is what it takes for the police to start doing their fucking jobs and for the courts to start doing their fucking jobs, so be it. Do it. Do it. Drag those violent retards into an underground torture garden and lynch the bastards. I said what I said. They're going to accuse us of that kind of ruthless authoritarianism anyway, even when we're, in fact, treating them with 6 layers of kid gloves. So we might as well fucking do it. Let's become the ball-busting narcs they want us to be. Deus Vult! Get in the back of the van, you muppet. Inshallah, and so on.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with any of that. Notice that you mentioned the SPLC. I was going to mention them. These groups that supposedly identify and catalog and sort of keep track of all of the hate groups in the United States and elsewhere. They don't usually list Antifa. That's why they say, most of the hate crimes are done from the right, but that's because the way these people measure things, Catholics are far right. Paul Elam is far right. He made the list of the ADL, Citizens United, the SPLC, and so on. So why wouldn't it be the case? Why, they're obviously, the ADL says Antifa doesn't real. So clearly they couldn't possibly be a real organization. This is why we can't rely on these people, because they don't do it. They're captured, or they are in charge of maintaining this overall narrative of how we define extremism, who engages in it, who doesn't, what counts as an organization, and so on. And the ADL is one of the worst about that. So, they're the ones that called, what is it called? Male supremacists. But there's nothing for Antifa or BLM for that matter, because those kinds of terrorisms are useful terrorisms, because they're up-punching terrorisms, I guess. So, that means that we got to take things into our own hands to some degree. And I hope that that continues. In fact, I don't know how you start something like an ADL, but I would like to start one that's actually tracks this kind of thing and doesn't do so along ideological lines. And by the way, just as an aside, has anyone ever heard of Holodomor denial? I don't think that's a thing. Why isn't it a thing? I feel like it should be a thing. But anyway, let us know what you guys think about... Yeah, go ahead.
I would say it is fair to call the SPLC a terrorist communication hub, given the fact that their naming of specific groups and shaming of specific groups has led to violent attacks against those groups.
Yes.
That's all I wanted to add.
Yes. All right. So, but anyway, just something to think about. If you guys know a way to start your own SPLC, but that's actually like doing the real work, maybe let us know in the comments. I think it's something worth looking into. We're gonna move on to the next one. Let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. In related news, this is sort of like bringing together the last two stories, the Antifa political violence story, which is sort of like what brought it on, and the teachers abusing their students story. So a Toronto-based Canadian teacher has been placed on suspension, not fired, okay, after showing the death of Charlie Kirk multiple times to students as young as 10 years old. The teacher, who was not a school regular and was there only to supervise a French immersion class — I'm sure that was French immersion, like the French Revolution — played the video repeatedly and gave a speech to the students regarding anti-fascism, anti-trans, and how Charlie Kirk deserved for this to occur, according to a source. Several students from his class went home and complained to their parents, traumatized at witnessing the on-camera death, on repeat, by the way, which they were forced to witness numerous times over. After parents reached out to school administrators, the announcement was made that the teacher would be immediately suspended. With pay? In a letter to parents, Corvette Junior Public School Principal Jennifer Copty wrote the following. During class, students were said to have been shown a portion of a violent video in response to questions being asked about a recent tragic event in the United States. While an investigation must still be conducted to learn all of the details, the report of this incident is extremely troubling and completely unacceptable. We recognize the seriousness of this matter and have taken immediate steps to follow all appropriate policies and procedures. The teacher has been relieved of all teaching responsibilities pending the outcome of the investigation and will not be at the school. Assistance is being offered to any children traumatized by the incident. I also want to assure you that our top priority is supporting students. Social work support has been made available at the school. Or to the school, rather. Social work support has been made available to the school. I will be visiting the class along with a member of our social work team to check in with students and provide support.
I want to check this bitch's hard drive as well.
Yeah, it was a male teacher, just as an aside, but definitely fucked in the head. So anyway,
And that also doesn't stop him from being a bitch.
Right. No, for sure. Absolutely. Okay, that's the summary. That is fucked up. Okay, like if anyone saw the unedited footage of Charlie Kirk getting shot in the neck up close, I mean,
yeah, I actually had some bitch on X post it to my feed in a conversation multiple times.
Like she was arguing in favor of that, or
no, she was arguing about something else, and when she got mad because the people in the thread that were on my side of the argument all trumped every single one of her arguments, she started doing that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, anybody have any thoughts on the teacher making their student? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So this is going to be kind of a roundabout thing, all right? But Gen Xers, you remember what RoboCop 3 parodied? What the sarcasm in RoboCop 3 was about? The extended amount of violence, like gratuitous, ridiculous levels of gun violence and so on in that movie, why that was done.
No, I never saw RoboCop 3. That's the one with the child sidekick and the jetpack. So I was like, nah, child sidekick, I'm out. So I didn't see it.
There was this push, right? There was this objection in Hollywood, and I want to say it was RoboCop 3. It might have been 2, but there was this big. I don't even want to say controversy. There was a big panic over violence in movies that were targeted toward young adult and teenage audiences. And the idea, and this has been a long time existing claim that has been debunked over and over again, but it's been made by people who are similar to this individual, this teacher, that have wanted to control what kids could see on TV, what parents could allow their kids to watch, and so on. that if you see violence, you will be violent. If you hear, say, rape jokes, you will decide, even though the rapist is being made fun of, you'll decide that that's normal, acceptable behavior, because we always make fun of normal, acceptable behavior. That's how we deem it normal and acceptable, is we ridicule the shit out of it. Right? Like that's what we do. Don't pretend that, you know, people dislike behavior that they're ridiculing. And of course, anything that's portrayed on TV must be the same as real life, and therefore everybody should engage in it, even when the bad guys are the ones doing it. That's clearly the way that it's looked at, right? And then along comes this teacher who decides to play a live action, real news story, real video of a real person being assassinated using a gun to a group of students whose political views that teacher doesn't know, whose future attitudes that teacher doesn't know. Like, either seeing violence normalizes violence all the time, or it desensitizes students to violence all the time so that they'll engage in it, or it doesn't. Right? It can't be that it does when you don't like what they're seeing, but it doesn't when you want to show them something. Right? That's a bullshit kind of attitude to have. Of course, the students were traumatized. And of course, this is going to affect the way that they look at politics and violence and people, because they're at an incredibly impressionable age. Everybody that I know has seen a movie they shouldn't have seen when they were a kid, and it gave them nightmares, and some of us developed phobias from them. I have an issue with porcelain dolls because of Barbarella, actually. Long story, but I don't like porcelain dolls. I will never like porcelain dolls. And it is because I saw a scene in a movie when I was a little kid. And it created an impression that I can't get rid of. Right? This isn't a movie. These kids know this really happened to a real person. They know a human being experienced this. Some 10-year-olds don't even have an understanding of their own mortality. Right? Some 10-year-olds in that classroom developed an understanding about death from that video. And they may spend their whole lives fearing it, even though it's inevitable. It's going to happen to them at some point in their lives, because this teacher did that to them. People will tell you the worst thing that can happen to you is being raped. This teacher raped those students' minds. They will never get that image out of their heads. They will never get that moment out of their heads. There is not a level of therapy that will make them unsee that and unexperience that moment.
He didn't just show them the video, remember. He used it as an opportunity to educate them on anti-fascism and
Here's the
other sort. Well, I'm just saying he didn't just
Yeah,
rape them.
I
He tried to
don't care why
radicalize them.
he did it. Yeah, he
He's-
did try to radicalize them.
Yes.
Like, that adds to it, right? That's an extenuating, like, this makes it even worse. But just the fact of showing that, you don't show 10-year-olds gore. There's a lot of Gen Xers that were traumatized by, God, I can't think of his name. The Hey Man, Nice Shot guy. The guy that song was inspired by. God damn it! Why can't I think of his name?
You have to be careful playing Bambi to a child, because children
Yes!
can get traumatized by seeing a cartoon deer get killed off screen.
Yeah, but this was a hell of a thing. There was a guy that committed suicide on the 6 o'clock news. back in the day when after dinner the whole family would go into the living room and watch TV, and the 6 o'clock news was on. That was what was on TV, was being watched, and there were kids that saw that. There were kids that saw the incident. I was one of the kids that saw the incident where it was supposed to just be a cute filler story, right? And there was this instructor for jumping out of an airplane with a parachute, that was teaching a student to use his parachute, and so they jump together, so the student is protected by the teacher in case the student doesn't parachute correctly. The teacher is able to protect the student, right? The news cameraman, there we go, Emery. I think that's Callum got it right. It's Bud Dwyer. Don't look that up, by the way. It is a horribly gory video. If your stomach has any humanity, you'll throw up when you see it. But in any case, this other video, it goes along for a while, and you're watching, and the student and the teacher are doing what they're supposed to do, and then they both shoot, and their shoots go up correctly, and all of a sudden you hear this from the cameraman. You hear, "Oh no," and it was just this fatalistic "oh no," and that's when you realize he didn't pack his chute. And then the camera just looks down at the ground, and it fades out. Like it immediately, they cut from it because they knew the cameraman hadn't packed his chute. And that was another Gen X trauma where you didn't even have to know, or you didn't even have to see what happened to the guy. You didn't have to see the death scene. You just knew. And there was the explosion of the Challenger that was played in classrooms across the country. Students had to get therapy because of that. And again, there was an explosion. You didn't see the death. There wasn't visible gore, and students were traumatized. There were students traumatized for life by that. And this is going to be this generation's moment. This is not the only teacher that got in trouble for this. Because I've seen stories about other teachers or discussions about other teachers. And this was all over social media, and kids were exposed to it on social media. And it's just one of those situations where, parents should be reminded your kids shouldn't be on social media unsupervised because of things like this. But what this teacher has done to these students is at least as bad as what happened to every kid that saw the Bud Dwyer suicide. Worse than the experiences of the kids that saw those other two incidents I described. Worse than the experiences of the kids who didn't understand what was going on when they saw the explosions and the towers falling on 9/11, and their parents getting upset and not understanding what was going on. Because this was gore in their classroom, and then he tried to indoctrinate them on top of that. Like, this person should have not just the book, but the whole fucking library thrown at him. And these poor kids, they're going to need years of therapy for this.
Well, he was suspended, so take that. I hope you learned your lesson. Okay, Mike, I'm sorry.
Fucking wood chipper. What?
This is why parents need to sue the shit out of them again.
I suppose this isn't as bad as physically raping the kids or physically killing them, but it's one leg in the wood chipper. Just the right leg in the wood chipper, and then when it gets up to the pelvis, you pull them out. You don't even turn the wood chipper off. Just when it gets to the pelvis, you play tug of war with the wood chipper, and you see if you can pull them out. That'll do. I don't have much of a rant for this. I'm going to save it for the next story, because I'm going to combine my mega rant with this story and the next, because they are connected. And in the interest of time, let's move on.
Okay, thank you. I got a super chat from Albatross for $5. And he says, when was the last time activists were as dogged about someone like they are with Kirk? They're seriously sinking their teeth into this one. Well, every tragedy is an opportunity if you are the right kind of shithead. So unfortunately, that's what this is all about. And also, this was in a lot of ways, it's a very big PR campaign to try to alter the optics. Remember when this initially happened? The guy who did this was a MAGA guy, apparently. Or first it was, we don't know, and then it was, oh, he's a MAGA guy, and then it was, I don't know, like a lot of people are still running with that. And because it's all about like how is it seen, not necessarily how bad is this tragedy. So, and I think it's important because it does tell you a lot about who you are dealing with. And it's really important that we know that. But anyway, moving on to the next story. All right. So in a stunning move, ABC announced the indefinite suspension of Jimmy Kimmel Live on September 17th following host Jimmy Kimmel's controversial monologue about the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, where he made remarks criticizing former President Trump and MAGA supporters' responses. That decision made by Disney executives, including CEO Bob Iger, came amid intense backlash from conservatives who accused Kimmel of insensitivity during a national crisis, also lying about what the identity and the motives of the shooter, because Kimmel said it was one of their own that did this. FCC chair Brendan Carr and major affiliates like Sinclair and Nexstar threatened to pull the show from their stations. Activists on the right celebrated the move as a victory against woke Hollywood bias, while media outlets framed it as a free speech flashpoint, with outlets like the New York Times and PBS attempting to highlight the political pressures involved. Just kidding, though. After widespread outcry, they brought him back. So ABC reversed course, and I think that was announced today, and announced that the shows will return to air on Tuesday, September 24th, a Wednesday, tomorrow, basically. Though some Sinclair stations may continue to withhold it. This has been a very brief suspension, and I wanted to say the reasoning behind this, though, it appears that, I don't know if you guys know, but because this was so short, like they put him back on the air. He's going to be back on like tonight or tomorrow. So this isn't like hardly anything. But what I think is funny about it is that when it happened, when he was getting canceled, and I talked about this on my weekend show on my own channel, Honey Badger Arcade. I do a weekly culture show there, and at that time we knew that Kimmel was suspended, but we didn't know he was going to be back. The way it was being framed online by leftists was, and I'm just going to say leftists for the sake of simplicity, because I don't want to get into like all of the nuance there. It doesn't really matter. Their claim was this is an attack on free speech. He got fired. He was pressured to get fired, etc. And I knew, because I had looked into it, that number one, he wasn't being fired. The show was being suspended. And number two, it wasn't because of, Trump pro-censorship or anything like that. It was actually, this is one thing that people did not seem to know. I think you guys probably do know this. The ratings were in the toilet. So like you had a show that I think the average views on it were like 120,000 people on average were watching this. For a television show, that's awful. Like there are posts of corn dogs on X that have more views than this show. Okay? And there's a person who actually posted a corn dog and said, let's see if we can get more views on this than Jimmy Kimmel. So the network saw a show that was failing, and they were looking for a reason to pull it, but they didn't want to do it because they thought, they had to appeal to their base, okay? And then when it came that Jimmy Kimmel lied about the shooter and was like, because he said things about the shooting that just weren't true, then the network, the FCC was telling them, you guys got to fix this, and the network saw an opportunity to get rid of Jimmy Kimmel without making it look like they did it, but rather they could blame the pressures from, the FCC to do it. But the truth is the show was failing, just like Stephen Colbert's show, just like Seth Meyers' show. I think Seth Meyers' show is doing the worst. All of them, Jimmy Kimmel, they're all shit. John Oliver, nobody watches them. Okay, Samantha Bee, I don't even think she has a show anymore. So they saw it now as an opportunity to get rid of him,
Did
and
she
then it
get
also
stepped
makes
on by a dog.
yeah. They saw an opportunity to get rid of a guy that wasn't really good for them without, but also look like the good guys, because they could say, well, censorship. So, but it turned out that it was probably taken down because he wasn't really pulling in any numbers at all. And there was also they've done some interviews with Letterman and Leno asking them about this, and I think that they kind of co-signed on that, like nobody was watching their shit anymore, because these guys, Letterman and Leno, were kind of legends of late show television. And the reason why they came back, though, I don't think it's because of the right either. I don't think it's I think actually it's because when they took it down, a bunch of leftists that watched Jimmy Kimmel, and a lot of leftists in Hollywood, were all like, I stand with Jimmy Kimmel, we are all Jimmy. They were literally trying to compare themselves to Charlie Kirk. We are all Jimmy Kimmel and all this, right? But then like the ABC studios were attacked by what I guess are leftist activists that didn't like ABC bending the knee to pressures from the FCC, which of course wasn't true, because it was because of the ratings. So they like did a drive-by on ABC studios, and I was going to make that a story, but we're just so overwhelmed with stories. I thought I would mention that in this story because they're related. So there was a drive-by done in the studios, and so out of fear, they decided to bring him back on the air. So they're putting Jimmy Kimmel, and this is what they're claiming. Who knows what the real reasoning is, but I'm trying to paint the picture here. So Jimmy Kimmel's back on the air for all whatever 200 people that are going to watch, and I think that they were pressured by terrorists in their own camp, potentially. So yeah, he's back on the air, and basically his censorship and all of this shit around it, all of this victimizing that they were doing around censorship and the oppressive regime, it amounts to nothing, because he got to come back, and the one thing that actually put him back on the air was probably fear of their own people, probably. So anyway, that's basically what I wanted to add to that before you guys take over. So
yeah, I've been trying to write something about this for the past few days, and I keep having to update it because it's gone from Kimmel's been cancelled to Kimmel's been uncancelled to Kimmel's maybe been recancelled by Sinclair, but apparently not. So God knows where we go from here. And if I've learned anything, it's not to jump to conclusions, lest you be subject to the narrative whiplash that happens whenever any degree of accountability is tentatively applied to the mainstream quote unquote left. So I'm going to try and approach this as generally as I can. And I know I keep asking this question in various iterations, but I'll ask it again. When has it gone too far? Ladies and gentlemen, that is not a rhetorical question. It's an important, inquisitive question that is not asked enough, never mind answered enough. If we want to avoid extremism, and broadly speaking we do, then the very least we can do is draw a line somewhere, whatever the subject may be. What should be the maximum speed limit? 70 miles an hour. Fine. What should be the age of adulthood? 18 years. Fine. Whatever. Which recreational drugs should be legal? Nicotine, caffeine, and alcohol, and cannabis if you're lucky. Fine. These lines are drawn arbitrarily, but it's important that we at least draw the line somewhere, and then we can go on to argue amongst ourselves if the line should be pushed forwards or backwards. That's what laws are for. But it's not just a legal matter. Private companies and private property owners can draw their own lines regarding anything not covered by the law. If a company wants to sack you for saying men are men and women are women, sure, they can do that. And anyone who doesn't approve has every right to express their disapproval at people being fired for telling the truth, the obvious truth, and I mean the most obvious truth to which any logic can be concentrated. X does in fact equal X, and Y does in fact equal Y, but okay, if you disagree, you are free to do so and see how far you get in life. Similarly, if a company wants to fire someone for saying we should murder anyone who says X equals X. Wait, isn't that illegal? Incitement to murder, isn't that already covered by the law? Especially in my country, where it's effectively illegal to say X equals X. No, it's not okay to tell the truth, but it's okay to encourage the assassination of people who tell the truth. Okay, that seems odd. I guess we'll circle back on that. And what else? Yeah, if a company wants to fire someone for costing them millions of dollars every year, even though all they do is mug expressionlessly into the camera with their fat piggy-eyed face and reading from a teleprompter, flagrantly declaring that X does not equal X. That's too far, is it? To fire that person. And anyone who's okay with that has gone too far. Interesting. While an innocent man lies dead at the hands of the apocalyptic left, we should be outraged that a millionaire mouthpiece for the apocalyptic left has to endure the horrific scandal of facing a timeout from their job for 4 fucking days. That's quite the hot take. It's something I would expect to hear from the shameless hyper hypocrites on the far left, but it's something we've been hearing over the last week from people who are ostensibly supposed to be opposed to the shameless hyper hypocrites on the far left. And they do this while having the nerve to tell us, you're becoming the left. Wait, why? How are we becoming the left? Because attacking free speech is leftism. Okay, first of all, we're not doing that. And secondly, no, it isn't. Since when was attack something that only the left does? The fuck kind of bitch-made cuck bullshit you're talking about? Oh, no, don't attack anyone. That's not what we do on this side of the aisle. We just have to hide behind our shattered shields and weather whatever storm of arrows gets thrown at us. How do you do, fellow non-leftists? Are we making sure we never fight back? Good, good. No, fuck you. No, fucking Grima worm-tongue piece of shit. Trying to tell us attacking is what orcs do, therefore we must not attack the orcs, lest we become orcs. Bro, we're just not going to payroll the orcs anymore. They've made it very clear that they want to kill us and then blame it on us. So we've decided we're not going to pay the orcs to kill us and then blame it on us. Well, then you're just as bad as the orcs. All right, good one. You want to talk about principles? It's pretty obvious what your principle is, and it's roll the fuck over and let the communist demon mafia do whatever the fuck it likes. If that's what you call free speech, fine. By all means, speak it. We won't try to get you fired for that. Just don't tell obvious flagrant lies and don't incite murdering people for their opinions. That's a principle we've always had. And it happens to align with the law. You can get sued for lying about people, and in many cases you should. And you can get arrested for inciting murder, and in many cases you should. But the only thing that's happening is your employers are no longer going to pay you on account of the suable / arrestable offenses you keep committing. And in Jimmy Kimmel's case, only for about 4 fucking days before ABC caved in to all the violent terrorism that your precious leftists have been committing on his behalf. In this case, I am indeed talking to people who might be listening to the show, because I've heard this from people who really ought to know better after all this time. You're accusing us of abandoning our principles, but we haven't. It's just that we don't have the same principles as you. We have drawn a line. That line is murder and incitement to murder. When the demons cross that line, we retaliate. Not in kind, not an eye for an eye, but at least something for an eye, like a fucking paycheck for an eye. You have not drawn a line. Or you have drawn a line, but you suddenly get amnesia when the demons cross that line. You just retreat and retreat and retreat, no matter how much the demons advance on you. because you're a weak, bitch-made punk ass. You're quite welcome to be weak, bitch-made punk asses, but don't act like you're better than us. And don't expect us to join you in your secret hideout in bumfuck Pussystan, you massive faggots. I said what I said. Don't make me say it again, because I will, even if I get arrested for it, and I have to wonder how much of a stink you'll kick up if that happens, because I'm not one of your precious fucking leftist demons. Fuck all of you. So sick of it. All right, I'll stop.
Hannah?
Well, I would just like to point out that on your social media, the reason there is a report button on X is because it was there on Twitter. The reason it is there on Twitter, on your profile page, that somebody can go and not just report a tweet that you tweeted or a post that you made, but your entire profile as hateful or spammy or whatever, is because of an organized, orchestrated campaign by a group called Women Action and Media to make the advertisers for Twitter pressure Twitter to give them that button so that they could report, like mass report people and get them banned by making Twitter's administrators that have to deal with did this person actually do what they've been reported for. We have to now read their profile over and over again because of these reports. Just say, oh, fuck it, we're going to ban this person because we're tired of having to go and look at their profile because of these reports. And that's why that exists. And there have been people that have been mass reported for completely innocent things, like Janet Bloomfield from A Voice for Men, who most of you today may never have heard of, because she got out of men's rights activism because her family was threatened. But she was mass reported for a photograph of a decorated cake by an organized campaign done by an account named Takedown MRAs, who got as many people as possible to report it as child porn. There are no people in the photo of the cake. So there are no children. There are also no adults. There's no actual human subject in this picture. I've seen this picture. Probably have it on one of my hard drives somewhere. It is literally just a three or four tiered cake with white buttercream icing and some decorations made out of icing on the cake. That's it. It's sitting on a table in a kitchen, and she took a picture. I don't even remember what it was for, whether it was a birthday or a wedding or whatever. She made it for a friend or a family member and was proud of her work and posted it, and they mass reported it and got her permabanned on X, on Twitter, actually, before it was X, right? Because they got that ability for posting a picture of a cake. And you want to make the comparison between the left's tendency, the anti-feminist leftist, or the feminist left especially, their tendency to do that to anti-feminists, and Kimmel getting banned because his show is absolute shit, and people celebrating it because he said something that was absolute shit. Like, you have to be kidding me, right? Saying he deserved it, saying he deserved to have his show canceled or suspended or whatever, because A, the show itself was not entertaining, and B, on top of that, he said some absolute bullshit that was offensive. And so you don't feel sorry for him, for being canceled for being untalented and lazy. And he only has Goodfella pointed this out. He only has 2 jokes. I'll let you go now. Remember to put 6 instead of G when you look him up on YouTube, or you won't find his channel. But watch his video on the subject and see if you don't agree. Kimmel, really, his show is completely worthless. But there is no comparison between that. It is a bullshit argument to say that it is an attack on free speech for a media organization to stop supporting a product that the public is not consuming and that is not making them any money. And that the reason they have to continue to support it is because people are mad about something that he said. It's a bullshit argument. Only an idiot would make that argument. And if you're making that argument, you really should take a step back and look at why. Because somebody else has probably manipulated you into that, and you might want to consider the fact that you're not as smart as you think you are. Enough said.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like I think that they get power out of being in the victim position, and this was all they had. Like I'm sure that no one who said that they were on Jimmy Kimmel's side actually gave a shit about him or even watched the show because it wasn't good. So I think it was just about like, oh, my optics. So it always comes down to my optics, my marketing. But anyway, so yeah, he's back, so we can go back to not watching it. And we'll see. Maybe it'll just get canceled again, and then they'll just be honest to me, like, oh, look, the show is shit. Like, at least Stephen Colbert's team was honest, you know. But anyway, we're going to move on to the last story. I told you this is going to be a longer than normal sausage, but whatever.
Stephen Colbert was at least meme-worthy. Kimmel doesn't even have that.
No. But even Kimmel is better than Fallon or Myers because they have nothing. Like there's like nothing there. It's sad. But anyway,
I keep forgetting that they exist.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, right. I'm telling you, they should just give. I don't know which show, but give one of those shows to Craig Ferguson. Don't censor him. Just let him do his thing. Be Scottish. It'll be great. He won't be political. He'll hit on every woman that goes on there. Everyone will love it. and we'll just get on with our lives. But anyway, Xerix gave us a super chat for 5 and says, Mike, we can only send them strongly worded letters or fight back when we're falling after following the non-aggression principle to the cliff's edge. Yeah, right. It's okay to alienate people, to ostracize. That there's nothing wrong with that. We should do that. We should do that more. But anyway, let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. We're going to move on to the last story. This one, kind of unfortunate, but also kind of funny. It's just like a story on like, be careful of the women you associate yourself with, especially if you own your own business. So a 31-year-old San Diego woman named Megan Farina ignited widespread controversy shortly after the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk at a Utah university when she posted a TikTok video stating that she had no sympathies for him, accusing him of using his platform to spread hate and bigotry. In the video, which amassed millions of views, Farina contrasted Kirk's typical thoughts and prayers responses to school shootings. This is usually how they, go after anyone on the right. Like the recent, because they want to take your guns, and that's why they do it. Let's just be real. That's what it's about. It's about taking your guns away. Like the recent incident at Evergreen High School in Colorado, where a 16-year-old shooter injured 2 before taking his own life, with her similar sentiment towards his death. The backlash was swift, with online users identifying and targeting her boyfriend, a 34-year-old Justin Crinley who owns a family electrical business. This led to a flood of negative Yelp reviews that dropped his rating to 1 star, accusations of unsafe practices, and even physical confrontations. Not physical as in violence, but there's videos of people confronting this guy, and they're asking about his wife. Turned out it's not his wife, it's his girlfriend. Such as a stranger entering Crinley's office to harass him. Farina's family also faced doxing, according to Farina, with personal information leaked and protesters leaving notes at their homes, turning her life into what she described as literal hell. Then, in a follow up video, Farina doubled down on her stance, highlighting the irony of being attacked by Kirk supporters who claim to value free speech while suppressing hers, and emphasized that neither Crindley nor his business were involved in her political views. Public reactions included thousands of comments calling her a monster and devil, while media coverage amplified the debate on selective First Amendment protections. As a content creator with over 600,000 TikTok followers, Farina expressed fears for others in a similar position, warning of a terrifying precedent against dissent and calling for community support against what she termed fascism. So people confronting her about her bullshit is fascism. Okay. No resolutions have been reported, but the incident continues to impact their lives with ongoing threats and defamation. And if you guys haven't seen the video, I'm going to show it off really quick because I have it. Her original video. So it wasn't as bad as some of the other ones out there, to be fair, but that doesn't mean that it was like okay. So let me just share the screen here so you guys can see it. You probably remember this video, you probably saw it, but I'm going to show it in case some of you guys have not seen it.
Before you play it, look at that duper's delight.
Yeah, well, this is all about that smugness. She's basically like,
yep,
let me show my audience how much of a better person I am. That's usually what it's almost like this is what women use TikTok and social media for.
It's a female. I'm about to say something absolutely shitty and mean, and I think I'll get away with it because I think I'm on the right side of the argument. Face.
Yeah, for sure. So here we go.
Oh, I can't hear it. No sound.
Oh, you guys don't have any sound? All right, hold on,
nope.
hold on. Sometimes this happens, and I gotta like stop sharing it and then start sharing it again. I don't know why that is. So hold on a second. It's gonna disappear, but I'm gonna bring it right back. Here we go. All right. So let's try now.
Gather around, bitches. Let's all join hands and bow our heads in thoughts and prayers for Charlie Kirk. Thoughts and prayers for Charlie Kirk. Thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers. Gather.
So remember, he died. I'm just pointing that out, okay? And so, people were angry about this, and they let me just find my post. She does a follow-up here. I think this is her sort of like follow-up video.
Wednesday, September 10th, when Charlie Kirk was shot, I posted a video offering him the same thoughts and prayers that he offered after every child was.
Whoa, hold on a minute there. All right.
In an hour. And
the same is a lie. She used the phrase the same in there, okay? There is a huge difference between mocking the idea of thoughts and prayers versus expressing the fact that your thoughts and prayers are with someone as an expression of sympathy when you have the deeply held, enduring, strong belief that your prayers have a solid impact on the lives of the people that you pray for. That there will be well, no, it matters that you believe in prayer. Charlie Kirk was a devout Christian. He had a very strong belief that when he prayed for someone, that he was sending God's goodwill their way, that he was drawing God's direct attention, his more direct attention to that person's plight, and putting in a good word for that person with God. That is what Christians believe. When we pray for something, we are asking God for favors. We are expressing our worshipfulness, and we are begging for a result.
Well, when there are things outside of your control, like, the sentiment matters.
Right. But yes, we finish with "Thy will be done" so that we don't fuck up and ask for something that's wrong and get it. But the thing is, there's a belief system that goes with this, that it's very similar to witches' belief that they are affecting the world when they cast a spell. When witches direct magic at somebody for good or bad, whether they're blessing or cursing, they believe There's an intent behind that, right? They believe that they are doing a thing, that they are affecting the individual, and that if they are cursing the individual will face consequences. That if they are blessing the individual will receive some sort of blessing. This woman was mocking. She didn't have a belief that her thoughts and prayers song would send some sort of good vibes out to help the individuals that she was talking about, the family, Charlie himself, none of that. So the idea that she was saying the same, like, that's her trying to shield herself from accountability for what she did, which was to mock the death of an individual and to mock the beliefs of an individual because he died. And she did so gleefully and publicly on a large platform to a large segment of followers with intent to upset people, to make people angry at her, to turn the knife in the hearts of people who were mourning the death of someone who to them was a beloved commentator, the ambassador to the other side, by the way. Y'all killed the ambassador. You understand what that means. And she thinks now that she doesn't deserve people's anger for what she did. Now, I don't agree that people should have expressed their anger in the manner that they expressed it when they went after her boyfriend. Even if he had been her husband, it still would have been wrong. He didn't make that video. She did. Right?
Yeah.
And I have no problem with them commenting on her video and calling her every name in the book, disagreeing with what she has to say, any degree of verbal expression of this, what you did was wrong. And I don't have a problem with, if she had an employer, them contacting the employer and saying, do you know this woman is mocking this assassination on this social media and advocating, that this violence was meaningless, right? Belittling this act of violence. Like it's not her saying I stand for this political ideologue, or I stand for this political idea, person or thought. It's her saying this death was okay, this murder was okay. Like that's something that an employer should be alerted to if they don't want to be associated with that kind of thing. Promoting crime isn't the same as saying, oh, I'm a feminist, or oh, I'm not a feminist, I think feminism is stupid. Either one of those, nobody should be contacting your employer for that. The minute you say it's okay to kill someone and it's funny when it happens, that's a totally different story. It's a totally different behavior than just believing in a political idea. But that guy did nothing. He did not cause this problem. He wasn't responsible for her. Coverture ended. Feminists protested against it. They took to the streets. They got voting rights. They got laws changed in every state. They got federal laws changed. They got municipal laws changed. They got the banks to change their policies. They created a system wherein men are no longer allowed to be the shield between the woman and the public, or the woman and the state. Anybody that went after him is a moron. Nobody should have done that. I don't care what side you're on. But this woman is responsible for that just as much as the people who did it. Because we all know that there is a tendency in the world for people to go after a guy for what the woman that he's associated did, or for a guy to get himself involved in a conflict that the woman that he loves is facing. Either way. So if a woman creates controversy around herself or causes a huge backlash toward herself like this that leads to violence, she is subjecting him to this. Even though I say everybody that engaged in it was a moron, The biggest moron was her, if she gave a rat's ass about him for creating this situation in the first place. And this idea of, oh, it's the same, it's the same. She's faced this level of backlash and she's seen this level of consequence, and she still can't take responsibility for what she did. If ever, gentlemen, there was a sign that women should not be in positions of leadership as a whole, no pun intended, women should not be in positions of leadership, political, business, or otherwise. It is the fact that women react like this. Oh, you guys are mean. I was doing the same thing you do. No, bitch, you were mocking. That is not the same. There is no mockery in offering thoughts and prayers for people who have suffered a tragedy. And, you know, I have no sympathy for her. I have a lot of sympathy for her boyfriend. I have no sympathy for her experience in this. No matter what I think of the people that took it too far.
Yeah.
And I don't have sympathy for any other woman that experiences this for the same as you know, same kind of behavior. And I actually hope that every example of this is understood by men to be another, you know, straw on the side of the scale between, can we trust women in positions of leadership or can we not? You know, I don't know a handful. I mean, like maybe 3 women in my whole life that I thought really belonged in positions of leadership, executive type leadership. And one of them is Allison, and one of them was related to me. So, you know, that narrows it down to only one woman I'm not directly associated with. But it's sad, but true. She's not abnormal.
No. Yeah. I have my suspicion is that she doesn't have a job, and so they went after her boyfriend, thought it was her husband. And
Yeah.
I do feel bad for him, but he better like reevaluate his relationship though, because she also said this. Maybe I'll share this. This is like another TikTok.
Because they support us. But yes, we are not going back to Target. Not now, not ever. I don't fucking care. They could literally say that they only support DEI. Actually, in that case, we might go back. If they said no white, straight Christian males allowed, it might be like a really safe place. But
So she basically says that like Targets, it was really low for some reason, should kick out all straight white men. So yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, but like the boyfriend is a straight white dude. So I think he needs to like stop thinking with the wrong head and look at the real, like seriously, do you want to be with someone who hates you for what you are? You're not special. I mean, unless you're a self-hating like white dude yourself, in which case you need to see some help. But I don't know. But anyway. But
We need to stop telling men that it's
fuck
misogynistic.
good? No,
we
I
need
don't
to
think
stop
so.
society, I should say, from telling men that it's misogynistic to judge women for their character, to vet women
Yeah,
for character before dating them, because clearly
100%.
this guy took that to heart. This woman has no character, and he's dating her anyway.
Yep. Agreed. All right, but anyway, that's all the stories. This was a long sausage. Added a half hour. But I'm gonna go into the patron show now. So we're gonna be looking at this website and This is a website called wobblydev.com where they make Antifa / communist video games. I'm not going to play any, but I thought we'd talk about them. And there's also some other games on there as well. And speaking of games, we might watch I don't know if you guys have seen this, but the Department of Homeland Security put out a Pokemon video that has been making the rounds and it's pretty funny. So we'll probably
Gotta
look at
catch
that
'em
as
all.
well. Gotta catch them all. That's right. I want to be the very best. But anyway, we're gonna head into
Well-
the patron show now. So what's up? Yeah.
You mentioned at the beginning of this show that I'm making a game. I have a prediction. My game might not be the most original thing on the planet, and I don't know if it'll be good or not. I mean, I'll find out if people like it when we start playtesting. It may never get past that stage, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'll bet it'll be better than Antifa games.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because you'll work. But
Yeah,
but-
I'll put effort into it.
Yeah, you'll
And
put
it's
work
not
into it.
it's not political. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Well, actually, by not being political, it's political. It's just the wrong
Yeah.
kind of politics, which is the not political kind. So,
I suppose people will find a way to make it political.
yeah, I'm sure they will. All right. Well, anyway, with that said, we're going to go into the patron show now. So, thanks, guys, for coming on. Thank you to Hannah and Mike for joining me. If you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today. And please, please, please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on this extra long sausage of HBR news. And we will talk to you guys in the next one. See you next Tuesday.
Men's right activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.